Let's talk about the transformer. When it comes to the transformer architecture, we have three variations of the transformer architecture. We have the encoder-decoder transformer, and we have the encoder-only transformer and the decoder-only transformer. These are the three variations of the transformer architecture. The original transformer was an encoder-decoder transformer. And let's just dive deep into the original transformer, what it was, how it worked, and everything. So originally, when Google built the original transformer, they built it for language translation. One of the things I like to think about it, or at least the way I believe the reason why it was called the transformer is because you have a target language and you want to translate it to a source language. It was called the transformer because you're transforming from one language to another. Okay, so take for instance, right here we have English and we want to translate it to French. How do we do this? In the original transformer, what the encoder does is it takes a language in the target language, it builds a representation from the target language. Then the decoder takes that representation, we can see it here, this is what we call the cross attention, uses that representation to generate the translation. So in this case, the decoder is actually in the process of generating the translation. So this is it. So this is one thing we should just remember. The encoder builds a representation, while the decoder generates tokens. So Google introduced BERT. BERT is different from the original transformer because it's an encoder-only transformer. So basically, in BERT, they got rid of the decoder and said, "Hey, let's build something." And BERT stands for bidirectional encoder. The name encoder, representation for transformers. So what was BERT doing? The way BERT was pre-trained is BERT was pre-trained in a way where it will be able to understand language. So take for instance, one of the common ways where the way BERT was trained was in the process of what we call max language modeling. So this is an input to BERT. So let's just dive deeper into this input right here. So this is the input to BERT, where you give BERT a sentence. Paris is the max of France. So this way, we give BERT an input, but then we mask or we hide some of the inputs. The goal is for BERT to produce what it's supposed to be here, or to predict what is supposed to be in this max. So this was how BERT was pre-trained. So in this case, we give BERT this and look at BERT was able to guess what is there. So from this, BERT is sort of able to build a representation of language. It's learning what language is all about. So BERT was actually a big deal, or technically it's still a big deal up till today. So why was it a big deal? Because with BERT, once that's built that representation, you can make it to perform much more other tasks. The original transformer was just for translation, but with BERT, you can fine-tune BERT so you can do tasks like question answering, natural language understanding, text classification. It was able to do a lot of things. So that was just the whole idea of BERT. And BERT was focused on the representation aspect of things. Hey, can we train a large language model so it can learn how to represent text, and then we can fine-tune it on all other kind of tasks. But then, I believe it was in the same year, OpenAI introduced GPT, Generative Pre-trained Transformer, that will one day be the predecessor of ChatGPT. So what exactly was OpenAI betting on? OpenAI was betting on just a single task, one task to rule them all, and that task was generation. So OpenAI got rid of the encoder, unlike BERT that got rid of the decoder. They got rid of the encoder in the original transformer and just focused on decoder only. And remember what I said, the encoder builds a representation while the decoder generates. But in this case, OpenAI said, hey, why don't we just generate stuff? Because if you're generating things, you could generate, you can have a question and your generator can basically generate the answer. There was just a lot. So that was why OpenAI focused mostly on the generation aspect of things. And it actually worked because today, the most popular form of the transformer architecture is decoder-only architecture, where basically every single model, every generative model, that's where the name comes from, is a decoder only. Encoder models still exist, but they're not as popular as generative models right now. And this is like just the three variations of the transformer architecture. The uh, Basically we have the encoder-decoder, which is still exists. It still exists. You can come across encoder-decoder models, and then we have the encoder models, and then the most popular of which we have today is the decoder models, which was first started with GPT, generative pre-trained transformer.